then we're going to do it. Okay, we'll begin the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council. I'd like to request a roll call, please.
Fusco.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Connor. Aye. Boys.
Aye.
Hannah.
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Very good. I'd like to request a motion to accept the minutes of the previously held meeting.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. Thank you. So we have, I believe, a number of items that are up for public hearing today. The process will be that we will receive a report from the planning department in reference to a conditional use. After we receive that description by the planning department and recommendation, we'll then swear in any individuals that would like to testify before the committee by Sarah Biviano, our clerk of council. After that, we'll open up the public hearing portion and ask if there's anyone wishes to testify before the committee. After that, we'll close the public hearing, and then we'll open up to the committee members for any questions or comments, and then we'll open up to all of council. Those are the procedures. The only difference is at 6:30. 5 o'clock. It's a rather new time for us, but 5 o'clock we will repeat the process, and the only difference is the committee will make a recommendation to all of council, either to vote in favor, against, or to take time, table an item. So those are the procedures that we follow here. Sorry for the long, lengthy description, but with that, I'd like to request that the first item be read in by our clerk, Sarah Biviano. Thank you.
The first item up for public hearing today is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct a second driveway at 1395 Superior Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Ben Works is requesting permission to add a curb cut and construct a second driveway approach in the front yard of the property at 1395 Superior Avenue. The property contains a single-family dwelling with a front-facing one-car garage. The building line setback is 25 feet from the Superior Avenue right-of-way. However, the dwelling is set back 37 feet at its closest point and 45 feet at the farthest point from the property line. The proposed driveway would maintain a 10-foot width and extend from the right side of the existing driveway in a semicircular fashion for 50 feet to a new curb cut on Superior Avenue, approximately 45 feet south of the existing one. The new curb cut and driveway apron would be within 40 feet of the West Thornton Street right-of-way. Superior Avenue is a connector from Interstate 76 to Vernon Odom Boulevard. Petitioners indicated the second driveway would allow him to stack vehicles in the driveway while allowing a secondary means to access the busy Superior Avenue without having to back into the street. Earlier this year, it was discovered that the petitioner began excavating his yard without permits. He was presented with options by the Traffic Engineering Division to bring his proposed driveway into compliance. Options included widening the driveway, extending a concrete T from the driveway, or a combination of both, so his vehicles could be stored and turned around within the driveway to have direct and safer access onto Superior Avenue. The zoning code allows a second curb cut on properties that are 100 feet wide, only with the approval of the traffic engineer. It's the opinion of the traffic engineer to disallow the petitioner's request for a second curb cut, but to allow for him to widen the existing driveway or create a T. Because the location of the dwelling allows for additional legal parking, no hardship is present to justify a second curb cut without the approval of the traffic engineer. And other viable alternatives are available. Both planning staff and planning commission recommend disapproval. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. I'd like to request that if there's anyone here or online that would like to testify before the committee today on item number 1, to please be sworn in by Sarah Biviano, our clerk of council.
Could you please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now open up the public hearing, and you're welcome to say whatever you like. If we could just please have for you your name and address, please.
Right. My name is Ben Works, and I live at 1395 Superior.
Okay.
And the reason I wanted to put that driveway in there is for safety purposes. I have a 80-year-old mother and a 3-year-old grandson, and I found a problem. Superior is a very busy street, And within the last 5 years, there's been 113 accidents, and it's a big concern. And so that's why I wanted to do it, for safety for the community and my family. I think it'd be very, reasonable to put a circle driveway in there, because if I wanted to put a T in there, it wouldn't work. It'd take up my whole front yard, and it'd be I don't think none of y'all would want a T in front of y'all house with a circle driveway. I think it'd be safe for you to see traffic coming to the right and left of you. I noticed that the city of Akron have a lot of roundabouts because traffic engineers think that's safe. Well, that driveway would be a half a roundabout. So it's a house up the street from me on Viodum that has 77 square feet. I have 95. I'm 5 feet short. That house is 23 feet short. All the criteria they want me to meet, I meet except for 5 feet. The one on Viodum, I think it's 920 Viodum, meets none of the qualifications. I don't think I'm special. I think they should meet the same qualifications that I meet, apples and apples, not apples and oranges. So that's why I want that. I'm not trying to be special, but I figure like I'm 5 feet short. It's functional, it look nice, and it's safety for the whole community. So, whatever the traffic engineer is worried about 5 feet, maybe they should be worried about the 113 accidents that happened in the last 5 years. Because when you come off the expressway, you have a straight shot. So I had a problem, and that was my solution. So, and actually, it looks nice. And I had other people come down there. Every house on my block has been hit with a car. Mr. Manson had a car fence hit 3 times. Steven had 2 cars, and I've had 3 cars on my fence and in my yard. And if you park on Superior, your car will get hit because it's that busy. Now, Viodum is busy as that, and they have a circular driveway, there's no problem interruption. So what's the problem on Superior? So, engineer, I didn't go to college, but I got common sense. And I know if I can see traffic from the right and left of me, it's safer than backing in backwards and looking out. That's just my opinion. I ain't got no college degree, but I got common sense. So, traffic engineer, that's them saying that, but that's just how I feel about it. So thank you for your time, and I hope y'all consider it. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you for coming down today. Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor and or against this proposal? Anyone online? Okay, not hearing anyone. We'll close the public hearing portion. Open up to questions from any committee members at this time. Any questions or comments? I'd like to point out, though, that we did receive later on this afternoon or today, I believe it was, a report from the petitioner in reference to the accidents that he's referring to. Is that right?
The petitioner did provide those at the end of last week. You should see that in your agenda to go packet.
Yeah, so all of council has that, and it's part of the record. So just letting you know. Thank you. Any questions or comments from anyone whatsoever?
I do.
See President Somerville. Yes, I believe it's in your award.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, my raise hand function is not working. But I just wanted to mention that I have had conversations with Mr. Works regarding the circle driveway, and I encourage planning committee members to go out and kind of take a look. But he is correct. Not even 10 homes around the corner, there is someone who has a circle driveway. And so again, for consistency, if we're granting it, in one area, I think we should do the same right around the corner. Also, if you go and you visit where Mr. Ben Works lives on that end of Superior, the traffic is really bad. The problem is there's like a little hill that comes down, so people fly down that little incline, and it is very hard to back out of driveways. So there is definitely a concern with the traffic, with the speeding. And so I am just asking the committee to take a look at right around the corner. There is another home that has a circle driveway. Same thing that Mr. Works is asking for, and he is literally only 5 feet short of being able to do this without a conditional use. So just asking that the committee consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Phil Lombardo had his hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to ask, I'm looking at the diagram, and I just wanted to ask, in case I missed it, to Mr. Antonucci, like, why did the Planning or Zoning Commission deny this?
Right, so
I mean,
a lot
I
of
know
it,
that-
yeah, right. A lot of it comes down to what the traffic engineer is looking at. in situations like this, we defer to the traffic engineering on issues like that. We do recognize that Superior, their traffic comes through there fast, and we're working with, service and traffic engineering to, look at some calming, traffic calming measures there. But the traffic engineer suggested some remedies, such as like a T off of the driveway where he could turn around. The idea is that where it's coming back out, it's close to the intersection of Thornton Street. It's a little too close to that intersection.
Is that where the 5 feet comes from?
Yeah, well, no, the width of the lot is like 95 feet.
Yeah.
With the zoning code says that you can have if you have 100 feet of width, you can have 2 curb cuts with the approval of the traffic engineer. So in this case, we're not getting the approval of the traffic engineer.
I got it.
So that's where our recommendation came from in this instance. So that's essentially it. I think the other concern of the traffic engineer is they don't want to set up precedent where there's more of these, I guess, in the neighborhood, so
Hence the reason it's here.
that's correct.
Very good, thank you. Good?
Yeah, thank
Any
you.
other questions, comments?
If I could, one quick comment.
Yes, Mr. Julian.
It appears as though the one that's around the corner was actually not permitted. We're still looking into that. Okay. For the record, I think it's important to state that may have been unpermitted work. We're still looking into that.
Very good, thank you. Thank you. There's a lot to this. So I would like to meet with you after the meeting, Mr. Works, get your phone number, pay you a visit. Okay, so, and I'll share that with the other folks here.
But I do have a question.
You'd have to come to the microphone for that.
So with the T they suggesting, you still have to back into the yard, and that's still a problem. But with a circular driveway, you won't have that problem. I don't think none of y'all would want a T in front of your yard. You still want the house to look nice and be functional, and I just want to emphasize that. I don't think traffic engineer, nobody house would want a big square, because if I ever want to resell my house, I don't think nobody want that. And it's safety for the community. That's, at the end of the day, it's safety. It is not that I want my house to look good, but it does help. So I'd like traffic engineer to take that into consideration.
Thank you, Captain.
All right.
Yes, thank you, sir. Again, after the meeting, I'd like to get your phone number and share it with everyone. Mr. Lombardo?
I don't know if I can ask Mr. Works a
Sure,
question.
of course. Yeah, the public hearing portion will
Okay,
reopen
no
it.
problem. I like talking.
Hi. I would assume that you would always pull in closest to the Thornton Street, and then pull out or drive out closer to, I don't know the direction here, but closer to 1389, that house, right? I mean, if you're talking about safety,
Well, safety, like I said, if I pull my car in, if I just pull my car in, my neighbor can't even see out. But for the driveway, if my mother come in or somebody come in, you can pull out, even my neighbor, just more, like the house next to me. If I could pull my truck in there, my neighbor can't see up the street. He had to pull all the way out if somebody even pulled behind me. That has nothing to do with my property. That's the neighbor next to me. So that's why, so I can pull in either way, it would be safe. So I can pull in that way, and it'll clear for my neighbor to see out his driveway. And then when they exit, you can see coming or going.
okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
We'll be looking at it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming down. And again, we'll have another public hearing at 5 o'clock. At that time, the committee will make a recommendation to everyone. So thank you so much for coming down today. Item number 2.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, Councilwoman Mobian has her hand
Oh, I'm
raised.
sorry. Sorry about that. Yes, Linda Mobian.
No problem. Thank you very much for recognizing me. My question is, Mr. Julian just mentioned something. So if the person down the street is operating illegally, it sounds like, or whatever, don't we have the authority to just grandfather this in? And if we're going to do that, why not allow Mr. Works to do what he is proposing? I recognize what we are saying is that traffic engineering is making a recommendation, and it sounds like the councilwoman is in favor of Mr. Works getting his request approved, and he referenced the one down the street, and it sounds like Mr. Julian saying that is operated illegally. But we have so many things that we have done over the years that we find out after the fact. And we either grandfather those in or we do something just to accommodate because it's already there. So is there a way for us to consider that?
Right. So oftentimes what we do, for instance, in circumstances where fences have been up for a long period of time, we see that every once in a while where somebody's building a new fence and there's a complaint on it, and then around the corner there's another one that's in violation. We try to be fair in those situations, and we do require that they come through for a conditional use to make those legal, really. So if they were put up illegally at some point, whether it's just last year or 20 years ago, they're still subject to getting or needing to get a conditional use approval. So there's the potential that this the Vernon Odom location, or diagonal is it, location is going to may need conditional use approval. Although it looks like that was put in around 2003, around the same time that the house was built. So we need to look into the circumstances of how that got there. It was a different traffic engineer at the time too. So, those are other things that we need to consider.
Then if it's a new structure that you're referencing, and I don't know it because I haven't seen it, I would hope that we would not put the burden on these people to go and do something else that we either overlooked or we didn't do due diligence on our part to make sure that they had followed the regulation. If I'm making sense, essentially what I'm saying is that until these things come to our attention, we have so many things that are operating out there that don't fit the zoning regulations. And I recognize what we're saying is that when we are aware of them and we trying to go by, but we're also in the process of changing our zoning regulations as well. So I just hope that we can consider Mr. Works' request and grant him what he's requesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And again, I'll get the phone number. I'll share it with all of council, which in all likeliness, I'm betting that we're probably going to take time this afternoon, this evening, and give everyone ample opportunity to go out there and check it out in person. So thank you very much for your comments, Ms. Mobian. With that, we'll move on to item number 2.
The second item up for public hearing today is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct a commercial garage at 629 Flora Avenue, parcel number 6830969, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. ATCPC of Ohio, LLC, DBA Clutch Cannabis, is asking permission to include dual-use cannabis cultivation and processing to their existing medical marijuana.
We're on 2?
I'm sorry?
Flora.
629 Flora.
2. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but
Yeah, no, sorry about that. We got Flora Avenue. Okay. Sorry about that.
okay, take it from the top.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Robert Kaufman is requesting conditional use approval to construct a commercial garage on this lot. The structure would be located 20 feet from both the north and south property line, 12 feet from the residential property to the east, and 5 feet from the railroad property to the west. Would feature one 12 by 12 garage door and one man door along the north elevation, and another man door on the south elevation. Construction materials would consist of split-face block for the walls, metal siding on the gables, and asphalt shingles for the roof. The gutters and downspouts would be tied into the existing storm drains. Vehicular access to the garage would be through the petitioner's property to the north along West Wilbeth Road. The petitioner owns the property to the north along West Wilbeth Road, which is zoned commercial use district. He currently uses the property for the storage of dump containers for construction and demolition waste, which he delivers to the site, delivers off-site to consumers and returns them back to the site when empty. The proposed garage would provide him with an office and workshop to maintain the containers and a place for storage of items pertaining to the business. He does intend to have employees working on site only during daytime hours. Due to the proximity of neighboring residences to the south and the east, the petitioner intends to have fencing and landscaping to reduce the visual impact of the garage within the residential neighborhood. He also intends to place a hard surface driveway from West Wilbeth Road to the garage and upgrade the fence and screening along West Wilbeth. One goal of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan is to encourage the expansion and development of commercial activities in areas suited to their needs. The proposed structure would meet all required setbacks and development requirements. Petitioner would maintain access to the garage only from the north along West Wilbeth Road so as not to conflict with the residential traffic and uses along Flora Avenue. The planning staff is of the opinion that this lot, which abuts the railroad tracks, is unlikely to be developed for residential purposes. This investment will afford the petitioner a means to increase viability for his business, and both planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. At this time, I'd like to ask if there's anyone here that wishes to testify before the committee, be sworn in by Sarah Viviano, our clerk. Anyone here? Anybody online? Anyone here? Okay. I don't believe there is. So with that, we're still going to satisfy our law department, and we'll open up the public hearing. Ask if there's anyone wishing to speak in favor or against. Anyone? Anyone? Okay, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing portion. Ask if there's any questions from anyone on council, any on the committee. Yes, Tina Boyes.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that I have met with Mr. Kaufman as well as the neighbor across the street from the lot who had some concerns regarding landscaping and the like. So I'm glad to see that in this as a condition. I would just suggest that whatever we can do to make the back of this building look as much like the front of a building for the neighbors would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Anyone? Questions or comments? Okay, very good. Hearing none, we'll now move on to the next item, which is number 3. Mr. Antonucci. Yes.
Would you like me to read that in first?
Okay.
Yes. Item number 3 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a dual-use cannabis cultivation and processing facility at 1055 Home Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. ATCPC of Ohio, LLC, doing business as Clutch Cannabis, is asking permission to include dual-use cannabis cultivation and processing to their existing medical marijuana cultivation and processing facility at this location. Petitioner currently operates a medical marijuana cultivation and processing facility in this 82,000 square foot single-story structure. The hours of operation are 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. Currently, this location has 173 employees. Petitioner states that there will be no changes to their current facility or operations necessary to cultivate or process dual-use marijuana. Their dual-use license issued by the state means that the medical marijuana products they're already licensed to produce are now available for purchase at duly licensed dispensaries by both medical marijuana and adult-use consumers. The distinction whether a product is medical or adult use is only made at the points of sale. The current medical marijuana cultivation and processing facility has successfully been in operation since the fall of 2018, and the zoning office has not received any complaints regarding the use. Both planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask if there's anyone that wishes to testify before the committee. Please be sworn in by Sir Biviano.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, hello everybody. Thanks for having me today. My name is Adam Tamarius. I'm the CEO and founder of Clutch Cannabis, operating on Home Avenue. Obviously, I'm before you today requesting a conditional use permit for adult use manufacturing of cannabis for the market, the Ohio market. Issue 2 is passed in November, which then allows us to, as of January 1st, allows us to sell adult use product into the market. We're currently selling medical cannabis into the adult use market, but here in the next month or two, the state will be coming out with specific adult use rules on products. But currently, we're selling medical products into the adult use market. I'm before you requesting a conditional use permit to be allowed to sell adult use products out of our facility, manufacture them into the market. So I'm here with any questions that you might have. I'd like to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor or against the proposal at 1055 Home Avenue? Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor or against? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any questions from the committee? Okay. If not, Phil Lombardo, the council person for the area.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm definitely in favor of this conditional use. I have visited the operation over there on Home Avenue. It's quite an operation. And like Mr. Antonucci said, there has been no complaints. They're a good neighbor. So I just wanted to give those comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lombardo. Any other questions or comments? Very good. Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item. Invite you back this evening if you'd like to come by, or you can Zoom in either way, or what have you. So that'll be at 5 o'clock. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming down. I believe we're on item number 4, Sarah?
Yes, the fourth item up for public hearing is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a dual-use cannabis dispensary at 10 South Canton Road and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Parma Wellness LLC is seeking permission to establish a dual-use marijuana dispensary at this location. The petitioner intends to remodel the former Cashland retail store to be used as a cannabis dispensary. The building exterior would receive fresh paint on the brick walls and metal fascia, and the asphalt parking lot would be resurfaced and striped to provide 39 parking spaces. Disrepair due to an extended period of vacancy requires a replacement of some windows and attention to landscaping. The existing drive-up window would remain, although it's not part of the petitioner's business plan at this time. Hours of operation would be 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Sundays. Deliveries would occur during the off-peak hours to the secure vestibule at the south side of the building. All products would be stored in an approved secure vault. The petitioner states that low-intensity downcast lighting will be installed to reduce glare to surrounding properties. Security cameras meeting the requirements of the State of Ohio Division of Cannabis Control will be installed within the dispensary and around the property to dissuade loitering and ensure compliance with state requirements. Additionally, on-site security personnel will monitor the video feeds and perform security sweeps to ensure that clients return to their vehicles and leave the premises after a transaction. All products are delivered in sealed, tamper-proof packaging and will be dispensed and packaged in child-proof containers. Clients are not permitted to consume cannabis inside the dispensary or anywhere on the property. The petitioner anticipates 14 employees to staff the facility at any time, leaving 25 parking spaces available for customers, which is well over the zoning code requirements. The proposed use is in a retail district with proximate highway access and is more than a mile from any other cannabis facility. The proposed dual-use dispensary would reactivate a vacant retail structure and is immediately surrounded on 3 sides by retail uses. And both the planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Sir Viviano, please swear in anyone who wishes to speak.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Very good. This portion will open up the public hearing and ask if you could please provide for us your name and address.
Sure. My name is Greg Gorosby, 667 Park Edge Drive, Gahanna, Ohio.
My name is Abby Langevin, 4594 Franklin Street in Manaway, Ohio.
Very good. Any comments or questions?
Sure, we'll be brief. The previous applicant correctly stated the status of the law in the state of Ohio. So we are also operating a cannabis facility. This one is a dispensary. This will be, as was noted in the staff comments, this will be a new dispensary This applicant also owns a processing facility at 844 East Talmadge Avenue. That's also on today's agenda. We received a recommendation to move forward from the Planning Commission. There was one person that spoke up from the public, and that was a positive comment. We feel like we've met all of the requirements to obtain the conditional use permit. Abby, if you would just speak a little bit about AIR and how it's related to Parma Wellness.
Yes, so we currently have one cultivation site, a processing site, and 3 existing dispensaries here in Ohio. All of our licenses are in very good standing with the DCC, and actually we invite a lot of the new division staff to our sites to be used to train the new inspectors. So we'd like to just continue with that and add this new site to our portfolio as well.
Yeah. And AIR is Air Wellness is the owner of Parma Wellness, which is the license holder for this site.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor and or against this proposal? Anyone here wishing to speak in favor or against online? Okay, we're not seeing anyone. I would like to then close the public hearing portion, open up to any committee members who may have questions or comments, and or council members. I see Linda Mobian. Your hand is up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My hand was up earlier, but basically, I just want either Mr. Antonucci or whatever staff person is there. We really don't have much authority within this unless the operator has not performed well or unless there have been some complaints or concerns. Other than that, this is truly just us approving these. Am I correct? I may be simplifying it, but it's my understanding that if they've been operating well and now that the recreational use has been approved, most of these medicinal use facilities are doing dual use. And unless we have concrete reasons to deny, we don't have much authority. Am I oversimplifying that?
Well, yeah, it's true that the state and the voters, obviously they voted to approve adult use marijuana. We do have, and council passed, a change to the rules in the zoning code to require that any adult use or dual use sales, dual meaning medical and adult, receives conditional use approval. So the sales as well as the cultivation and processing. So we're in a process of actually all of the providers, cultivators, and dispensaries, existing dispensaries and new dispensaries have already submitted for their conditional use. So we're in the process of processing those through this conditional use process. So each one is up to scrutiny. I mean, if there were concerns from council members on any one of these locations, those things can be brought to light. But yeah, the city passed and council passed an ordinance that requires conditional use for these entities. So.
Good. Okay, very good. And I see here that there's 14 conditions that are attached to this conditional use request. So my question to you, Mr. Antonucci, say for example, a violation would occur of one of these 14 violations on this conditional use or any other one out there. What would be then the actions of the city of Akron?
Well, we would send a letter to the owner, letting them know that they're in violation of one of the conditions, or maybe more than one. If we don't get compliance, we send a fine, and we can continue the fines. If things get totally out of hand, council has the right to revoke a conditional use. I mean, that's rarely done, but that can happen. So that's the process.
Thank you.
And if I could just add on to that, Councilman, if that's okay?
Yes, Mr. Julian.
So we would also, in the case of, a situation, I mean, there may be, there's sort of levels of seriousness, right? So if it's a conditional use, a condition of the conditional use request that is just maybe it's something that we would do to any retail establishment. That's one thing. But if it's particular to the sale or cultivation of marijuana, then we would likely escalate and not only go through our process, but also loop in the state board of control and talk to them about that as well. So the leverage there would really be through the state license. If there were, and I'm not trying to suggest that we anticipate this with this particular applicant. I'm just, we would, leverage the state licensing process as well.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Brad McKittrick?
Thanks, Councilwoman. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to ask all the council, I know Clerk Viviano sent out an email on Friday from a resident that lives in proximity to the location. So I'm just asking everybody to look that over before we have a vote this evening. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from anyone? Any questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, of course, we'll invite you back at 5 o'clock, and then we'll have an additional public hearing, and we'll make a recommendation afterwards. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. The next item is item number 5, I believe. Yes, Sarah Viviano, it's all yours.
The next item up for public hearing today is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a dual-use cannabis cultivation facility at 1956 South Main Street and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Galenas LLC is asking permission to include dual-use cannabis cultivation to their existing medical marijuana cultivation facility. The petitioner currently operates a medical marijuana cultivation facility in the roughly 10,000 square foot two-story structure. The hours of operation are 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday with 20 employees. They have stated that there will be no changes to their current facility or operations necessary to cultivate dual-use marijuana. The distinction whether a product is medical or adult use is only made at points of sale. The current medical marijuana cultivation facility has successfully been in operation since 2019, and the one complaint received by the zoning office was handled. The current and future use of this property has not had a negative impact on the surrounding community, and both the planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. If there's anyone here wishing to testify before the committee, please be sworn in by Sarah Viviano, our clerk of council.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now open up the public hearing portion and ask you if you'd like to please provide for us your name and address.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Korf. I'm the CEO and founder of Galenas LLC. Our facility is located at 1956 South Main Street. I live relatively nearby in Hudson, Ohio. As was said, Galenas has been operating since 2019 as a medical marijuana cultivation facility in Akron. We have a fairly spotless record with the Ohio Department of Commerce as a cultivator. The one complaint that we did receive was an odor complaint, and we took care to install additional filtration on the exhaust air that comes out of the facility, and since then we've had no subsequent complaints. Our intent here is to continue to grow as the Ohio market continues to develop. Obviously, as has been said, Issue 2 passed last November, and so now we're operating in kind of this in-between space where adult use sales have begun, but we don't have adult use rules in place yet. We're still waiting on the Ohio Department of Commerce to issue those. And so in the meantime, the city's been gracious enough to allow us to operate under the state rules while the local regulatory structure gets caught up. Our goal is to continue to grow our business located at 1956 South Main. Right now, we're undertaking a smaller expansion in a separate facility. And then next year, our expectation is to start new construction at the existing site under the assumption that we get approval, of course, to add substantially to our current footprint. So we've had a good relationship. I've spoken with Councilman Kamer on a number of occasions. He's come by and he's seen our site, and our hope and expectation is that we'll be able to continue to grow our business here in Akron.
Thank you. Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor and or against the proposal on South Main Street? Anyone? Okay, very good. I'll close the public hearing portion. Ask if there's any questions or comments. I see Mr. Kamer's hand is up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity. I just want to let my colleagues know that Jeff, the CEO of Glenas, is a really good neighbor. Like he said, I've came down to see the operations, and I routinely drive by the property as I travel on Main Street several times a week, and the property's always clean. And like I said, over the last couple of years, him and I have been in contact with each other, and like I said, is a very good business and a very good fit, and I support this moving forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Any other questions or comments from anyone whatsoever? I'm not seeing any. Invite you back this evening at 5, same story. We'll make a recommendation after the public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item number 6.
Item number 6 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a dual-use cannabis processing facility at 844 East Talmadge Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. CSAC Ohio LLC, doing business as Air Wellness, Inc., is asking permission to include dual-use cannabis processing to their existing medical marijuana processing facility. Petitioner currently processes medical marijuana in 11,293 square foot, one-story brick veneer and masonry building. The hours of operation are from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, with 15 employees. While the petitioners state that there will be no change to their current facility or operations necessary to process dual-use marijuana, there is enough space to add another 15 employees. The current medical marijuana processing facility has successfully been in operation since 2019, and the zoning office has not received any complaints regarding the use. The current and future use of the property has not or will not have negative impacts on the surrounding community, and both the planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. At this time, do we need to swear them in again?
You understand that you're still under oath?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. We'll open up the public hearing and ask you to please, you know the routine.
Sure.
So, yeah, please provide first your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Sure. Again, speaking Greg Gorospe, 667 Park Edge Drive, Gahanna, Ohio.
Thank you again. This is Abby Langevin from 4594 Franklin Street in Manaway, Ohio.
So we don't have much to say about this one. Same information as before for the dispensary facility, except that this facility has been in operation in good standing. And as far as the processing facility goes, there will be virtually no changes expected, from at all, because currently the state is operating under the medical marijuana rules. Even though those products are being sold for adult use at the processing facility, they're still labeled the exact same way, processed the exact same way. So at this facility, we expect really no changes in the near term.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, anyone? Okay, very good. We'll close the public hearing portion and open up the questions. I see Phil Lombardo's hand is up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. So this facility is very clean, very secure. I've noticed right near my house, so I would support this conditional use. And employing 15 people, could be more. Mm-hmm. That's good for the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Any further questions or comments? Not seeing or hearing any. 5 o'clock. If you wish to come back, you may. Thank you. We'll make a recommendation after.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7.
The final item up for public hearing is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a dual-use cannabis dispensary at 1568 East Archwood Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Culture Retail Partners of Ohio is asking permission to include dual-use marijuana sales to their existing medical marijuana dispensary. The petitioner currently operates a medical marijuana dispensary in the 1,247 square foot single-story structure. The site is open daily from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., except on Sundays when operations cease at 6 p.m. Petitioner states that they employ 15 full-time staff, along with part-time and third-party security team. An additional 4 to 5 employees will be hired to support their transition to a dual-use dispensary. The petitioner states that there will be no changes to their current facility or operations necessary to dispense dual-use marijuana. The current medical marijuana dispensary has successfully been in operation since 2023, and the zoning office has not received any complaints regarding the use. The current use of the property has not had negative impact on the surrounding community, and both the planning staff and planning commission recommend approval, subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. There's anyone here? I see we should have someone online. Do we have them?
We did have some sign up for online, but they have not joined the meeting.
Okay. If there's anyone here that wishes to speak before the committee, if you could please be sworn in by Sarah Viviano. Appreciate that. Seeing no one, guessing that no one is here to testify on behalf of this proposal. So therefore, we'll move into the public hearing portion. Ask if there's anyone wishing to speak in favor, against, anyone? Hearing no one. We will now move on to the last item, number 7, I believe. Is that right? Or was that 7?
This is number 7, yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Very good. With that, then, we'll go into the list of regular legislation, of which I don't believe there's anything afoot. So with that, we're adjourned, and we will reconvene at 5 o'clock for the 7 public hearings at that time. Thank you. Thanks.
Our next committee today will be the Public Service Committee, and it will begin at 2 o'clock. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, DeShazier, Bolden, and Lombardo. Again, that's the Public Service Committee, and it will begin at 2 o'clock. Thank you. Okay, it's 2:00, and our next committee of the day is the Public Service Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, DeShazier, Bolden, and Lombardo. We have all committee members present except for Councilman Bolden. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'd like to call the public service meeting to order, please. All members are present except for Councilman Bolden. We did hold a meeting 2 weeks ago, and can I get approval of those minutes, please?
So move. Second.
All right, I have a motion, a second for the minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. We have one new piece in front of us today, and I'll ask Sarah if she could read that in for us, please.
Item number 1 is an ordinance amending and/or supplementing Title IX General Provisions, Chapter 101, Trees and Shrubs, Section 101.13, Tree Commission of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Akron and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. And we do have Mr. Lash with us today. Mr. Lash?
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of council. This piece of legislation is regarding our tree commission, and this is basically a piece of legislation to change the number of residents being appointed to this commission from 2 to 5 members. The current construction basically it consists of a member being appointed by council, the director of public services or an appointee, the clerk of council or deputy clerk of council, 2 members appointed by the mayor, and approved by this body. We're asking that this be approved so that we can change the number again from 2 to 5 residents being appointed.
Thank you, Mr. Lash. I appreciate that. I know Councilman Fusco is the sponsor. Before I take any questions or comments, Mr. Fusco, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we believe that we need to have more input from the community. So that's the goal with regards to this ordinance is getting more activity from the community and their input. There's a lot of movement afoot within our city referencing trees, and we're hoping that one of the perhaps next week or the week after we may see the names. At that time, maybe it's up to the mayor. They're appointed by him and approved by council. But one of the names we've brought forward was Jackie Rakuti, and knowing that she has, within Keep Akron Beautiful, they have a movement afoot referencing trees and such. And some of that is similar to our goals and objectives. So that's it. Basically, and there's some other folks from the private sector who are very enthusiastic about trees and hoping to help us. So I think this will do nothing but help the city of Akron with regards to our goals for a 40% canopy.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Fusco. Appreciate that. Committee members, any questions or comments for Mr. Lash or Councilman Fusco?
Well, just to be clear, how many people will that take that tree commission to at that point?
I believe this would, let me see here.
9 members?
Yeah, 9 total.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else? All right. And Sarah, we don't have nobody else that you see or wants to speak?
I do not see any other hands raised.
Okay. I'll call on Mr. Lash and Mr. Fusco. What is your wishes for this?
Consent agenda is fine with me.
Okay. Sure.
Motion for consent?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Well, that was just one piece we have in front of us today. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Council.
Our next committee today will be the Public Safety Committee, and it will begin at 2:15. Those committee members are McKittrick, Kamer, Lombardo, Hanna, and Davis. Again, that's the Public Safety Committee, and it will begin at 2:15. Thank you.